find that, in general, our lives are such that we're too busy to experience the world. And the minute I become involved in poetry at all, reading it, whether it's student poetry or real, books of poetry, they start keying me. Those poems start keying me into the world in such a way that my eyes open. I begin to hear things, I begin to see things, I begin to feel things.
I write poems because I just think it's such an amazing ability to be able to, put emotions and observations into things that are intricately beautiful. I don't you can form words together in musical ways.
I think poetry is a good way of expression because you can narrow down your ideas and everything is so compact. And you can dissect a poem so much because you have no superfluous details. So you can dissect it so closely and get so much of what the person wants to say.
Lantern is the works of the year from students. Is Westover's art and literary magazine. It encompasses the best poetry of the year, selected by our poetry advisor, Mr. Coffin, and then the best art of the year selected by the art editorial staff.
We try to make the magazine kind of flow and work with all the poetry and everything. So one of the main things we do is go around and pick the best art and everything, and then we go and match photography and art to the poetry.
And then we have a meeting in which we match up pieces of poetry, so great poems, with great pieces of art, and try to get them to correlate to each other.
I feel like when students get the lantern, they go over it in one time, in a whole period of 15 minutes maybe, and read 3 or 4 poems that are in it. And I think lantern is it's a book that you have to go over it again, especially in poetry and even more in photography.
I came to Westover in the fall of 1972, and they asked me if I would be the literary editor. The lantern's been getting better and better and better over the years. If you look at the early ones from those days, they're pretty embarrassing. And one of the things that happened was, in those days, we were only asking for submissions. There was no such thing as a lantern assignment. The minute we started making the lantern assignment, of course, the quality of the poems improved.
I wrote a poem for the elective craft of poetry in the fall, and I knew that there was this high school contest at Smith, and I really liked the poem, so I figured why not, I'm never gonna win anything if I don't try.
A last apology. The moss that grows in the wake of this unwelcome night could never blur the memories we have or the pictures we took. Blame cold, blame wonder, blame cautious footsteps in frozen air, but in the still frost of dark, we all know the war is at fault. The war stood tall to block the sun, commanding in its thorns, and broke our bones to shards. We could not have stopped it. And in the years coming, we hope you will forgive us or forget us, if forgetting helps the night recede from your stained mind. We did not mean for this to happen here. All the lies we told took control, and the stark white of our clean night was inked with misery. We have as much to do to heal, to breathe again. Our polluted air is filled to the brim with the shards of bone and the salt of tears, as is yours. But one day this night will pull its fingers from your matted hair. We are sorry that they were ever there.
The best part of writing a poem is when the idea comes to your mind and you have it in your head and you have to write it down right away. It'll go away. And you have to write it down. And so you write it down, and after it keeps flowing and flowing, and after it stops. And after you just have to go over it again, correct it.
The latest girlfriend. Halfway through my desperate race to reach
I feel in my thighs the spasms of the stretched miles. The father who never listens, in the rushing October wind, grips to that little breath of life, then recedes away. In the distance, I can still see the cut of his arm in which he holds sadness so tenderly. Resting along the bank, that deluded young woman shakes the sun out of her hair, brushing off the sweat of shame that never drips or dries. When the thick smell, wafting from the cranberry fields, drowses my man in a shut-eye's way, I blink it back. On the burning sidewalk she calls me to wait, and I won't. Though I remember stroking the blonde hair of her arms that one night she had her slim legs wrapped around him. I know the reason of her fame, the body she can afford to lend to please his hunger. I push the high grass of rotten poppies out of my smile.
But I think that my favorite part is definitely going to be receiving the copy of the lantern and having my name in it and being able to say that I did it and having it being distributed to all of Westover student and faculty, and just being a part of a Westover tradition, I think, is the best part.
I think this year it was definitely the staff. We had some really awesome people working with us. Everybody was really attentive. The whole thing went so smoothly, and they were genuinely excited about what we were doing.
I could literally just sit there forever and read all the poems over and over again. It's like the best part to just see what people are thinking and to see their artwork and different ideas and different styles.
All were really interesting and it was fun, and I wouldn't say anything was not fun or not like I hated it or anything, but pretty much just like setting it up was kind of boring just because it was so easy, and like Kaylin and Jill just made everything really simple. So.
You bring me courage to keep my eyes open wide and keep my arms open wide. You brought me courage. You showed